Hello, welcome back to the Cursing Seamstress. I have a couple of things to show you today. I have a top that I have made twice, and then I have something for my grandson, the 10-year-old that I made. First of all, I think I told you that I went to the DAV thrift store a few weeks ago, and they had wonderful fabric, and they also had patterns. Patterns were 25 cents. I think they were all the same price. And I showed you this one. This was one that I picked up, one of two that I picked up. It's a Simplicity 5634. I made C. That is C, and that is C. I guess that's C. Anyway, that's just a printed fabric, and that's a solid. The first time I made it, I made a size 18 based on the measurements. And it was a little bit big. I ended up tailoring it in a little bit on the sides. The sleeves were a good fit. I used the fabric that I bought from the DAV. It's a stretch cotton. It's beautiful. It's a great color. But I ruined it, I got through most of the pattern, and I got to the neck facing. It turned out really nice. I was pinning it down to flatten it out really well before I did the top stitching, and I was ironing over pins, and some of the pins that were not glass-headed pins melted into the fabric. And I'll just show you what that looks like. You can see the dots there, and they're not evenly spaced, so I thought about putting something over them, like ribbon or decorative buttons or something like that, but again, they're not symmetrical, so I think it would look weird whatever I did, and I'm not willing to spend the time to do that. But otherwise, I really like the pattern. I feel horrible about this. I'm not going to keep it. I'm going to donate it. I don't even know if anybody else would buy it. Just a few things about the pattern. So I made it again. Excuse me. And you know, this is not the best fabric. I bought this fabric to match fabric that I didn't have enough of, and it ended up that this gingham was not the right size of checks that I needed to match. So I ended up having a couple of yards of it left over, maybe more than that. But this is what it looks like inside out. So this is the 16 because the 18 was just a little bit too big. This is the facing that you do. You put it on and then you top stitch around on the outside. The sleeves are puff sleeves, and they have elastic all the way around. It does have darts, as you can see. There is a split seam right here. I did not do that on the first one. Did do it on this one. And what else can I say? I guess that's all. I was smart enough not to do what I did the first time on this. And, you know, actually that's never happened before. So it was a lesson. And this is very wearable. It's not the cutest top in the world. It's not the best fabric. I mean, the fabric works fine for the pattern. I like this fabric a whole lot better. So I hate that I won't be able to wear this. Okay, so that's that. Overall, it's a good pattern, and you've got all kinds of variations on here. So I will make it again. I don't think it'll be a favorite of mine, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with the pattern. So the other thing that I did was my grandboy Griffin, who is 10, I've mentioned this before, he loves places to tuck away his goodies, whatever he has, knives And God, I don't even know what he has. He has every kind of little tool and thing. And so I had this camo fabric that I showed you before, and I didn't really know what to do with it. This was also from the DAV, and I didn't have enough to really make a whole lot with. So I made the wallet. I think you saw that last time. And the boys loved it. I took it over there, not intending that they would want it, but just to show it to them and ask them if they liked it or if they would use it. And immediately Walker, the 6-year-old, asked if he could have it. And of course, you know, I'm not going to say no. And Griffin actually wanted it too. They have multiple wallets, but so I ended up leaving it with Walker. And I will make more probably with this camo fabric. Anyway, so I asked him if there was anything else I could do out of the camo fabric. And he said he wanted a pouch that he could wear on his, you know, attached to a belt loop or something. So he actually drew it out. I should have brought it over here with me. He actually drew out what he wanted, and he wanted a grommet on the top, on the side on the top. He wanted a flap closure, and he wanted, actually he wasn't insistent upon a Velcro closure, but that's how he drew it out. He wanted it to have a little bit of depth to it. If I get a chance, I'll put his little drawing up. And I think that's pretty much what he said. So I talked to him and asked if I could do snaps instead and if I could do some other things, and he said that was fine. He wanted to have the grommet so he could thread his earbuds up through the grommet and I guess keep his iPod in it or something. So anyway, my brain, it doesn't twist around really well when it comes to making pouches and purses and things like that. I really do have to go step by step to make sure that when you turn everything out, that it's going to be what you want. I'm not gifted in being able to do that in my head very well. So I found on YouTube, I found somebody who had put up a tutorial for an eyeglass case, and it was the kind of eyeglass case that has the flap that comes over and a center snap, and it had fleece in between it to make it soft. Anyway, it was cute. It was lined. So I thought, okay, well, I can use that, just cut my own pattern bigger and adapt it for what Griffin was looking for. So that's what I did, to make a long story longer. And this is what I came up with. And I ended up putting 2 snaps. I went to Walmart in another town. Our Walmart is very, very limited. The one that's about 35 minutes away from me or so has a great fabric department. So I went there and I felt of all their fabric and looked at all of it and ended up not buying any fabric, which was amazing. But as I was leaving, I was looking at their notions, and they had snaps, and it looked like, I think they were by Dritz, which is the same company under which Babyville is marketed, Babyville snaps. And I did a video of that a while ago. And they had some black snaps, and all I had ever worked with were white ones. So I guess I was thinking about this little pouch, and I knew that it would be a good idea to have the black snaps. So I picked them up, and that's what I used on here. So these are the black snaps here and here. I put these little tabs on here. I lined it with a brown fabric. I put a little pocket in here. I should have, actually, this is where my brain doesn't twist around that well for stuff. I meant for the pocket to be on the back side, and how it ended up in the front, who knows. I did put a D-ring on here so he can hook stuff to this if he wants to, or he can hook it to his belt loop if he needs to. Here's the grommet. He can also put, I've got one of those hooks that he can have and insert in here and hook it to whatever he needs to. I did do, when I made this pattern, I did do on each side, I did do a dart to give it fullness at the bottom. And top stitched around here, top stitched around here, and I used interfacing to give it a little bit more body. So it's cute as can be. So it snaps closed, and then I guess these little ribbon things are helpful. It's just a grosgrain and a sort of a dark orange are helpful in opening up the snaps. They're not really that useful, but they're fine. So that's it. I hope he likes it. He's on his way with his mother and his brother out of town to the Great Wolf Lodge. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. I have never been. It's supposed to be fun. It's like an indoor swimming and recreational thing for kids and hotel and all that. So she's going to stay up there with them tonight and come back tomorrow.